Yes, Dr. Charles.
So if the schools are working closely with the Ministry of Health, you have so many students who are being trained. They can be extensions of the Ministry of Health in doing preventative work, gathering data for the Ministry of Health, doing analysis for the Ministry of Health, meeting families, trying to look at risk factors in the case of diabetes, in the case of hypertension. There's so much more that we can do if we have the synergy between the medical education environment
and the population
and the
Correct,
health system.
Yeah, you know, like, and also, so the students can be involved hands-on, and then in terms of professors involved. So for instance, I can envision, let's take something like violence, which is a problem.
Yeah.
How does one tackle violence? Now, I see violence as a public health problem.
Yeah.
But it's a public health problem that requires us, yes, there are good practices out there, but we need to find a practice and an approach that works in our country. Things like that is what I would love to see universities involved in, that kind of public health research, producing papers, producing trying models of how we can address issues such as violence in our society, from, you know, be it early childhood interventions, antenatal interventions, secondary school interventions, or community interventions, societal interventions, whatever.
Right.
That is what I see universities be able to contribute to us, to help us in our policies that will allow us to be a much stronger country on a pathway to healthy development. And you know, because very often, how do we do it, Michael? Some of us sit around a table part-time, talking with some government officials to come up with essentially a half-baked policy.
Correct.
Rather than putting a policy through
Based on research.
Based on based on evidence and rigorous testing
That's the
of
best.
the model,
That's
which
the
is the
best.
best way to develop a policy, especially something when you want to address difficult problems, like some of those that we are facing.
No, policy formulation based on research is the best of ways to go about. But you know, even in terms of, you look at the island and how the population is distributed, you can say, well, look, medical school X or Y will function with this community. You define the health indicators that you want to see across the nation. And with the public health system in place and the medical schools, they work together in the interest of the population.
Correct.
Because you want to ensure that your capital, your human capital, is healthy and available, that they can contribute to growth and development.
Correct. Let me tell you something. I was a couple of years ago in London, and you know, English people really tend to drink a lot. And I stopped at a pub one night. I was on the way home around 10:11 when I saw this guy. He may be about 17, 18 years of age. And I said, you know, are you still at school? He said, no. I said, well, he said, he has a job. I said, do you go to night class? He said, no. I said, you know, why don't you cut down the number of nights you come to the pub and go? And you wouldn't believe this thing. I was leaving London the next day, and I picked up an independent newspaper, and what did I see? That the senior medical officer in London had written an article that between the ages of 18 and 25, there was a vast number of people suffering from cirrhosis of the liver and depression, all from alcohol. Now, you know, when I go around even in St. Lucia and I see the level of drinking here, people drink without thinking. And I'm just saying to myself, if they only knew better and they could cut back, look at what it would save us. As you say, from the road fatalities alone, okay, you take, for instance, St. Lucia is no different to anywhere else. You will have a drug problem because that's the nature of the business. But if one is educated and understands what these things do to you, and you watch those guys on a motorcycle, passing you out at 50, 60 miles an hour with no helmet at all, 90% of them, they're drug related, you know, because they don't understand what they're doing, you know. And if, you know, if we have a university here and you can provide, say, even once a week, classes for 35, 40 people, and one person will tell another, hopefully it can be dealt with, you know, because it is costly for us, you know. As you yourself said, yeah, I heard you on the air the other day, looking for blood. How many people, every accident, look at in the last 2 days, we've had 2 major accidents, 14 people, another 10 people, you know. These people, and they may think they've got away, but they suffer from all kind of pains. Down the line, they're going to have problems, they're going to have back problems, which can be rather excruciating. I know what it is, I've had a back problem before. And you know, these kind of accidents, they're happening far too often.
You know, we touched on diabetes earlier, and there is absolutely no reason why our hospitals should be engaging in so many amputations as a result of diabetes. So the preventative aspect is so critical. medical schools, the students can be so involved supporting the primary care system and seeking to ensure that there is compliance with medication, diet, education, the population. And or even, as you know, in the Caribbean, in the OECS, the issue of prostate cancer, major issue. Now, how do we work with the men that they understand why they need to have, after a certain age, a PSA, a digital examination, etc.?
You know something? Then I would say 80% of the men in St. Lucia don't even know what a PSA is. Yeah. I mean, I happen to have a very good friend in the UK. I mean, he was a celebrity, a television celebrity, and he died at age 70, okay? And he never had a PSA. I can't believe that, you know? I mean, this is just, you know...
But that's a lack of knowledge. That's the ignorance.
Total lack of knowledge. That's the ignorance we
and
knowledge is, as you said, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is the only pathway to genuine success. But you know, I was just thinking of something else. Because one of the problems we have in our country is a lot of division. So it's very hard for St. Lucians to come together and are very suspicious of one another. So you have all these little silos and these divisions and fighting of one another rather than fighting the real enemy, which is the problems that we face as a people.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? And so, as you were talking, Richard, about working with community, the schools working with communities, working with the public health system, working with the private health system, everybody working together on the declared enemy, which is the disease and the problems that we are facing, not one another.
Right.
And that, I think, is something that we need to get away from. And I was very pleased, talking of that I think International American University, the Chamber of Commerce recognized them. The last Chamber Awards gave them a Corporate Social Responsibility Award, I think, for their work just with blood, in fact. I think it was with blood donation and their contribution to that. Now, things like that, I mean, that's a relatively small thing.
Yes.
But we could do so much more if at a national level.
Extended.
We could change our thinking to involve and incorporate others in the national effort.
Well, I think you know I've been in politics in Guyana, I think I am of the view that health, for example, and education should really be national issues in which the political entities should embrace one national plan, one set of strategies, and you move forward of lifting. And this using health as a political football needs to be off the table. And it's I would say to
any
that minister, you need to ensure that health is a national entity because it's critical and crucial for national development.
You know something, Dr. Charles? This is something I've advocated. I've said it time and time again. You know, the Prime Minister can only do so much. And so as a matter of fact, a member of Parliament indicated at the last parliamentary session that the Prime Minister or even a minister of a ministry cannot know everything that goes on. I think the Prime Minister needs to call, say, the planning department, okay? That's your primary purpose. The planning, give them that form of education, okay? Give them a directive. Pick a group of interested people, as Dr. King said. You don't want a whole bunch of people, 3 or 4 people who are very serious and not going to say something today and forget it tomorrow. You know, it starts at the planning department, where they're not going to give you problems. You have to go and get the various certificates, health, whatever it is. Come down, meet with the person and say, look at me. We understand you want to build a medical school. We are on board with you. We are going to do it.
But okay? why you know why it is so important? Because for continuity and sustainability. If you have one national plan embraced by all political entities, whether there are changes in the political landscape or not, there is continuity.
Correct.
And the technical officers are not confused. And so as the government changes, the strategies change.
Because everything stops.
Right. You know, and you see quality being affected, people not sure what they should do.
That's right.
You know,
but you are so right. And that's why we are where we are.
And I wanted to emphasize your point, Richard, about health as a developmental pillar, a pillar of development. I remember reading a WHO report, I think it is WHO report 2000, talking about health systems and their performance. And in the foreword in that report, it makes the point that the countries in the world that have developed, the richer countries, all invested in their health systems. because health systems, the return on the health system is something like a 10 or so year, 15-year return. So you invest in a proper health initiative, proper health system, and you will get a return in 10 years' time. Education gives you about a 7-year return, is what they were saying. However, the return, well-done health programs in a really comprehensive, sensible way actually gives you even greater return. So that is why health and education
they go hand in hand,
yeah. And secondly, they're so crucial to the development of a country.
Nation.
That's right.
And that is why to make them apolitical, or not apolitical, to make them all inclusive, as our song says, the party all inclusive. To make them all inclusive is the only way to make it happen.
I want to pose a question to both of you. Why is it that Grenada, Dominica, Antigua, St. Kitts have universities from 900 to 7,000 people, and St. Lucia, that has Spartan University for the last 40 years, has stuck at 140 students, and we have 3 or 4 with 40 and 50,000. Why? What is the reason?
Well, I think it has to do with the quality of the product, the track record in terms of the performance in USMLE, the marketing strategies. Grenada, St. George's, Ross, they invest significantly in marketing. If you're in Canada, you will hear that on the air every day.
Okay.
They're there. So it is how you organize. I think the seriousness of the quality that speaks to it. And I think that those are some of the factors. Marketing is a very crucial aspect of the game. You know,
and I was going to add to that, Richard. I think you're absolutely right. And I think we are still a little country and relatively small universities at this point in time, so without the budgets to do all that's necessary. So setting this policy environment which supports the universities is also, I think, a crucial first step. And within that policy, as you said earlier, I think, St. Lucia made a decision that accreditation would be a foundation within that policy to deal with medical education. Crucial, I think, because then at least now you have a quality product that you can now market.
Right.
But if our policy was to market the St. Lucian medical education product, even if it is a St. Helen product, a Spartan product, an IAU product, an AIMU product, a Destiny product, or an Atlantic product, but we market the medical education product of St. Lucia.
Correct.
And we also, because of our accreditation status, we allow the U.S. federal grants to be made available to or loans for that matter, to be made available to U.S. students.
That's right.
So that they could have easy access here from a finance point of view.
Yeah.
These are some of the things that I think one has to do.
Promoted, yeah.
So in other words, we need that policy to articulate a very clear strategy as to how we're going to approach. And that, I think, has been missing from our environment to date.
That's a very salient point, but I want to also mention the issue of the security of the environment, because for St. Lucia to benefit from it, one important point, and one good aspect of St. Lucia is that compared to many other states, it's relatively secure, and therefore one has to look, as you move to establish the university town, etc. You look at how secure the environment, because students will come with their parents, their friends, their relatives, etc. Once the environment is secure, they will come and they will spend.
Gentlemen, this has been a great program. We are running out of time. It is so exciting that I wish I could have you all in shortly. So once again, thank you so much for being here. And this is Oak Mike saying thank you.